I'm with the national head and senior VP of Laqshya Media Group, Shalini Sankar, with me. This is IndigoMusic.com's Founders Frequency in association with Thai Bangalore chapter. Thank you so much for joining me, Ms. Shalini.
Thank you so much. I am really excited and looking forward to this interview and interaction. There's so much to talk about, and I hope that we're going to have a really nice conversation together.
Right. In your profile, I just went through it. You have said that you have built startups, some
Yeah.
successful, some not so successful. You've also sold some startups. You've become a business person or a startup founder at an era where that was not a very, trendy word to use, right?
Correct.
Startup founders. So there are not many venture capitalists to fund the startups, and also not
Yeah.
a lot of like government backing and stuff like that. So how was that era of startups, and how did you begin, and what made you go for it? So let's talk about that first.
So I was always entrepreneurial. I always wanted to do something on my own. And around 2013 and 14, I took a career deviation and I wanted to launch something
Right.
unique. And that was a time when startups were just coming up. Actually, startups wasn't even there as a too much of in the
Hmm.
dictionary of businesses. If you start a business, it was like, even if it's a startup, they will not talk it as a startup. They will say, oh, you're just launching a business of your own. We
Hmm.
didn't have Shark Tanks, we didn't have VC Twitter threads, our growth hacking playbooks. We just were on our own. So there's no
Hmm.
hype, only hustle. We struggled, and I wanted to help support startups in that struggle. I launched a business in which I was focusing only on startups, interviewing them, showcasing them how to grow because I have a background of business growth. So I wanted to support startups through interviews. We struggled, but with
Right.
perseverance, we were able to get some really big names with us. And we featured Melanie Perkins, the CEO and co founder of Canva, on our platform when she was
Right.
in India to launch Canva in 2015. So we
Oh.
continued to grow, pivot, understand. We had very limited digital infra that time, and we still had to figure out our distribution. People were not convinced. Startup founders were not convinced actually with the business itself that why should I get into it? Why should I, be there? I'm working on the side. I'll manage it. And we just had to push ourselves. We had to, as a founders, we had to wear every hat for sales, marketing, ops, customer support, everything, because
Hmm.
the teams were lean, funding was rare, and people were not so keen to join the startups. There
Right.
were fewer templates, more grit. We learned by doing, by failing, and by repeating.
Hmm.
So honestly, I'm actually grateful for that phase because it taught me how to build up a startup from the ground up without any shortcuts. Everything hands on, work hard, and go out there.
Right. Wouldn't have been easy, right? The journey, especially because now, if you want to start up if you want to get into the startup ecosystem or you want to start a company on your own, a lot of people are also excited to join startups because, like you said, it's going to give them a lot of exposure, not in just their domain, but also like end to end. Startups work in that model. And also, there are a lot of investors ready to invest if your idea is good, if your product is good. There's a lot of people out there who are ready to fund because they're also going to take away money from that. And there's
Yeah.
also push from the government and the society's end to be able to, there's all the support system that's required even from the government's end to be an employer and not an employee and start your own company and generate employment to other people. So what were some of the challenges that you faced that people probably today wouldn't be able to relate with, because that was something that people did not understand back then?
You were right. Like now you have everything from TV shows to cohorts to support system for the fundings. Everybody wants to fund into a startup. Everybody who works into the startup. It's very glamorized. You feel that, wow, you're going to have a very cool culture. But back then, and talking about 2013, 14, everything felt like a challenge. Everything made you had to actually create a playbook yourself by doing it. There were not many startup cohorts. Accelerators also were very less. There was no founder community to lead on and very limited access to capital, especially if you don't have the right network. We had to, whoever was there at that space had to figure out in the hardware how to position your product. We didn't have too many branding opportunities, how to sell without a sales team, and without the funds that we can get now, how do we grow? So it taught me a lot. It taught me about that resilience isn't built in comfort, it's built by your own belief system. Clarity in what you want to do comes only with the execution. We couldn't afford analysis paralysis. So we learned by doing. And the most important, the customer is our VC. If they paid, we survived. So that shaped a very disciplined, value first approach to building a startup. And I would say that, yeah, perhaps the most importantly, as you talked about mentorship, I realized the value of mentorship in a hard way.
Hmm.
That time we didn't have mentors. We were our own mentors. Very few mentors were available, and that we learned along how to actually create our own ecosystem. That's why today I actively mentor startup founders to help them skip avoidable mistakes, move faster, and stay focused on what really matters. That phase was tough, but it gave me the DNA to build with intent, but not noise.
Right. Let's also talk about where you're currently working. You're the
Mhm.
national head and senior VP of Laqshya Media Group. So, what
Yeah.
does Laqshya Media Group do? What is it into?
Okay. So, Laqshya Media Group is one of the leading media advertising agency of India. It's around 28 years old. We have 22 offices, and we provide media opportunities, a media solution to big brands in various media formats. But outdoor billboards is one of the biggest that we do, and I head them nationally in business growth and development. We take the brands and make them live on the bigger canvases of billboards. If I just have to summarize on what we do,
Right.
so, due to confidentiality, I cannot share too many brand names, but I can say that we have done campaigns and bring brands alive in all the major categories. It could be automobiles, real estate, consumer durables, FMCG, jewelries, cosmetics, everything. Lakshya has been there and they have clients across categories. So, yeah, so I'm enjoying the space. I always believed that's why I launched Biztos also, that I believe that my vision has been to bring create stars out of brands and people, and in Lakshya Media Group that's what I'm doing.
Right. There are a lot of entrepreneurs who are starting their entrepreneurial journey, especially in the last 5, 6 years since it's picked up. From your experience and from your lessons that you've learned along the way, what is a message that you'd probably give to the startup founders of today or the new entrepreneurs of today? Would you encourage them to come into this space, and what would be your message to them?
Absolutely, you should come on in this space. And if you have that dream that I really want to launch a startup, and if you're clear what you want to launch, please come here. Of course, you can pivot. There's one thing majorly that I have learned in this journey, that clarity doesn't come before action.
Hmm.
It comes because of action.
Right.
So don't wait till it all's figured out. If you have some thought, just start, learn, adapt, pivot. And most importantly, keep showing up. The startup game rewards the bold, not the perfect.
Right. All right. You've also created a personal brand for yourself on LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
So, as a woman, why is it so important to create a personal brand for yourself on social media handles, especially on a professional handle like LinkedIn?
Yeah, this has been my another very major learning, that people believe in what they see. Personal
Right.
branding for women founders, especially, is not a luxury. It's a
Hmm.
powerful necessity. Being a woman in the startup world isn't just about breaking glass ceilings. It's about constantly proving that you deserve to be in the room, even when you have built the room. So
Right.
personal branding, I keep giving workshops on personal branding to a lot of startup founders on different cohorts, and I try to make them understand why personal branding is important. Personal branding brings visibility, and this visibility builds credibility. So if
Hmm.
you are, people will start trusting that you are a brand in yourself. If you show up as a leader, thinker, and doer, people begin to try take notice of you, trust your voice. Personal branding also opens your door beyond the pitch desk. So, pitching something and you want funding, the investors don't just bet on the products, they bet
Hmm.
on founders. So, a
Hmm.
strong personal brand builds trust before even you meet them. So, because will Google you, people try to see where you are. So, it creates a lot of trust, reliability, and influence. Wherever people are discussing about funding, they will take your name with, yeah, we can trust her, we have seen her around. And if you are building your personal branding, you are inspiring the women founders ecosystem. You are creating a voice for them and giving them confidence. And lastly, the very important is that when you are creating your own personal story, you will tell what you want to tell. Personal branding gives you control over your identity beyond stereotypes, beyond assumption, beyond tokenism. So people will trust your word because you are showcasing. So
Hmm.
personal branding is your moat. It builds trust, unlocks opportunities, and amplifies your leadership far beyond your product roadmap.
All right, Shalini, thank you so much for joining me. This is Founders Frequency on indigomusic.com in association with Thai Bangalore chapter. I just spoke to Shalini Sankar, who is the national head and senior VP of Laqshya Media Group and a startup founder for many years. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a nice day.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. Thank you.